Hey Aliza, I just want to start by saying you did a great job on your case conceptualization. It was very articulate. I could understand what you were saying, and I thought you did a great job. So I just want to start with that. Just in case you're wondering, this blob over there, that's my dog Remy. So if he barks, I apologize. Trying to keep him as quiet as possible. Okay, so to begin, my professional opinion on what you did, like I said, I thought it was very well thought out. I thought you had a great command of the Bowen language. I was able to, understand the eight interlocking components that you were, explaining. From the chronic anxiety to the triangulation, to the family transmission, and the multi-generational issues that trickle down. I'm sorry, that trickle down to the younger generations. One thing I did want to note on that, I was really interested in the triangle that you created with Pam, her mother, and then her friend, who's older, and she goes to for advice and sees as a grandmother figure. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I did that didn't even cross my mind, but I think that is a really good triangle, because it is this woman is being kind of brought into the tension that Pam has with her mother, whether she knows it or not. From the session, it didn't seem like Pam told this woman, in much detail, the type of relationship she has with her parents, particularly her mother. But I mean, you can definitely now listening to your, presentation, I can definitely see how, this woman is being brought in to, the tension that Pam has with her mother, and kind of, in a way, getting it from both ends, but not really perhaps not very aware that that's happening. So I thought that was great. Okay, so for the first question, I think you do have, like I said, a great understanding and a good command of, the Bowen language and the concepts. It does seem like you work from a family system perspective. I mean, that's been drilled into our heads for obvious reasons, but it definitely seems like you're working from a family systems perspective, and um, you want to make sure that all family members are being included, and you're seeing how what say the dad does and how that affects mom and Pam, and particularly how the death of their son, how that's impacting everyone, and how that's like a very distant topic. No one feels comfortable talking about it. No one feels comfortable addressing it, because it's just still very raw for them. But I think, excuse me, I think you are, you know, you do have a great command of the Bowen perspective, and things that we've been learning this past quarter, and then applying them to the case. I think you're looking at all aspects here, and you're thinking of things that are very, not the most common thing you would think of. You're definitely going further and dissecting, these this session, and seeing what else you can find. So for the genogram, yes, of course you do have your genogram at the end. I did like how you were able to, add the brother into this, and make it known um, that he passed away. I do appreciate how you have the relationship with Jesse on there that Pam has. It's obviously they're not in a relationship, but there is something going on. They are close. They are, have somewhat of a, not honestly hostile, I think that's too harsh of a word, but it's obvious that Pam feels some sort of way about him. And I appreciate the fact that you added that in there, because that's one of the main relationships um, Pam has in her life, whether she wants to admit it or not. That's someone that's been a constant in her life since she was in college. So that's great. And I also do appreciate how there's that you put that distance and that closeness between mom and dad, and then mom and Pam. I think that's a very good pattern to pick up. So someone who isn't familiar with the case can look at the genogram and say, hey, I mean, it seems one of the big issues here is that Pam is close with one parent, but then not close with the other parent. Just by the inherent nature of that, what could possibly be going on in this relationship that's making it difficult for Pam to, you know, become like more comfortable with her mother. So I thought that was great. Okay, so insight into each family member, I think you do. I think it was great that you were able to dissect um, dad, his previous drinking habits, and really connect that, it's possible that Pam learned her anger and how to express herself by watching her father, when he was very angry, when he was drinking. I think that's a really great insight to have. And it helps with like that learned behavior of how it trickles down from one generation into the next, whether we like it or not. Um, Also, for Dad, I think it's really great that you see him as the hero, the person who's willing to speak up, even though he may come off as sometimes confrontational and a little bit abrasive. He's still willing to have those conversations, and he's still willing to do it. You're right; he is very reactive. But out of all of them, I think he is the most. I would start with him because it seems like he's the most open. It is inherently, I think it's a closed system, but I think with Dad, I think you have the best chance of addressing him, addressing his concerns, validating him, and then going forward to kind of help move change throughout the system. As for Mom, it does seem like you have good insight. She does seem very closed off, but she also does have that dual role of being, the pursuer who she tries to get Pam to do things, but then once she gets almost like that rejection, she, shuts down and starts saying, don't worry about it, don't bother with it. I'm done talking about it. I also do think it's great that you see that she feels helpless and that she does take she takes on some of the blame of the problems in Pam and her relationship because she was the one who always took her to the doctor. So I think it's important to have that insight about her that she has that built up guilt, and it's has. I'm assuming it's been there since Pam was younger. I don't think it's something that just kind of all of a sudden happened. She just all of a sudden got this insight. I think it's been building, and I think it's important that you recognize that it's been a process, and this has been morphing into something much more unbearable for her. As for Pam, I do think you have great insight. It does seem like she is, closed off, has a hard time controlling her anger, has a hard time communicating. It could possibly be from, all the trauma she had to experience with the doctors when she was younger. It could be from, the experiences she had with her father when she was younger. It also could be contributed to her developmental, disabilities and delays that she has. I think it's a combination of things, and I think you're very sensitive to that. You're aware that there's a lot going on in this family, and you're aware that it's affecting everyone differently, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Okay, so for the final question, I absolutely think if you were to work with this family, you would give each family member an opportunity to speak and be heard. You're definitely opening up the doors for mom and dad to give more insight into their family of origin and explain any type of multi-generational issues that weren't discussed that um, affect how they raised and continue to help guide Pam. um, I think that's a good, very important. I think you all did also keep the door open for, possibly discussing the son who passed away. I'm sure that's traumatic and it doesn't seem like it's been discussed. But just knowing you and knowing, the way you do things, I absolutely think you would approach that topic with compassion and, be very gracious, which is important. It's something that needs to be discussed. It needs to be processed, and I think the family has not been able to do that, because there's just so much anxiety, so much happening with Pam that they have to keep moving, and it hasn't been discussed. I also do think that you give, and potentially if you were to work with this family, like I said, give Pam the space she needs to express herself. You've talked about how you understand that you see the anger trickling down, and you also understand that there's a communication issue. So I think you would definitely give Pam the opportunity to speak directly to her mother and father, and really help her express what's going on for her, as opposed to her just saying it directly to you, and then you have to interpret it and say it back to mom or dad, and something could get lost in translation. I mean, I think you definitely make a safe environment just by knowing who you are, and the things that you addressed in your case conceptualization. I absolutely think you'd make a safe environment where open communication is a big thing, and everyone would feel safe to express themselves and they wouldn't feel judged. So that's my feedback. I think you did a great job. There's definitely some new things about the case that you presented that I'm going to have to go back and think about now. And I think you did a great job, like I said, Aliza. So yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye.